Hello and how are you? Welcome to our 12th video of learning how to create web application using PHP. In previous video, we looked at different things such as PHP associative arrays, PHP arrays, functions of PHP, for loops and if conditions and the rest. So if you are new here and you don't have idea about what we've looked at in previous topics, I really recommend you to go and watch previous video classes in this same playlist so that you can be on the same level with us. But if you're already somewhere and you understand things about PHP at this level, or you want to practice and proceed, then no problem. We can go ahead and proceed from here. So today we're going to look at something new. We're going to look at how we can handle forms of web, of how you can collect. We're going to look at how we can collect data from users. So if you have ever asked yourself how you're going to collect data from users, for example, when people provide you their username and passwords, or when people provide you their information, let us say their names and the rest, and you want to see how you can deal with this data, this is the right video for you and how you're going to work with it. So with that much said, let's get straight and you understand what is really meant by a form. So as I said before, a form is just an HTML element that we use to collect data from what? From users. Okay, and I've already said the type of information that can be passed through the form. You want to collect the file, you want to collect the user profile photo and the rest, all those stuff, the name and the rest. Those things, they come through what we call a form. So on web, we basically have two types of a form. So the first type is called the get form, and the other type is called the post form. We are going to look at what is made by get post, and then also do some practical practice about it, and also go ahead and look at what is meant by the post method of form. Then we'll go ahead and discuss when we need the get method of a form, and also when we need the post method or type of a form. At the end of the day, we'll look at different scenarios of when we need one and when we don't need the other. So that is what we're going to cover in this video, this one, and then maybe the next one if this one does not be enough. So with that much said, we're going to go straight into practicals and see how we can handle these different forms. So let's get started. So the very first thing, we're going to create a file. We're going to create a fresh new file, the one that we're going to deal with to create the get form. In fact, we're going to begin with get form. So I'll come here to my project. I've already opened my project in Visual Studio Code. If you don't have idea what is meant by Visual Studio Code, just check a playlist on these videos and then begin from video number 1. You'll understand what's meant by Visual Studio Code. And I've already started my WAMP, my MAMP. Okay, so if you're using Windows, you should have started your XAMPP or WAMP. So if you don't know what is meant by WAMP, XAMPP, MAMP, the servers of PHP, then please just feel free to go to the first video and learn what is meant by WAMP and XAMPP. So for me, I've already started my local host or my MAMP, the one that I'm going to use to run the PHP files. And then the next thing, I'm going to create my first file of PHP. I mean my file of PHP, the one that I'm going to use for handling the forms in get method. So I say new, and then I put here 17, for example, PHP form get. This is how I've named my name. I mean the name of the file. So why do I begin with 17? I begin with 17 because it is the 17th file in this folder. So I want this file to be organized so that in case someone looks at my code, they should be able to know I started from here and then went to this file and the other file. That's the whole point of why I'm beginning by numbering the files before I put the file name. So that's 17 underscore PHP underscore form underscore get. So it means that it's a PHP get form, the one that I'm going to collect the information of get. Okay. So after creating the file name there, So the next thing I'm going now to do what to write the logic of the form. Okay, otherwise if you didn't know, I can as well collapse this one like this. Okay, so I'll collapse it so I can have enough space to work with. So the first thing that we do, we're going to create the interface of a form or the HTML so that the user should be able to fill something, and then later we'll go ahead and write now the logic of getting the data of this form and then work with it. So let's go ahead and create the form itself. So to create a form, we'll first begin by writing our HTML5 structure. I hope you know how to do that. Just write HTML5 in small letters, and then if you're using Visual Studio Code, they will suggest for you everything. So that's my HTML5 structure, and then I'm going to put here form gate. So after doing that, the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to write now the form itself. Okay, so I'm going to write the form like this. Okay, and then here I'm going to put the data that I want in the form, okay, that I'm going to submit in the form, the information. So we're going to begin by writing, maybe we're going to collect the first name, okay, the name of a person, then his age, and maybe his country. Okay, we're going to collect the name of the person, the age, and the country. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'll begin by writing an input like this, an input tag and a element, and then I give it type of text. So another very important, a very important field, that attribute that you must note in an input, you must leave in an input, is the name attribute. Otherwise, if you don't give the name attribute, if you don't provide it, then it means that that particular input will be ignored. Why? Because you'll have no way of how we can know that this is this particular input. So you should always give the name attribute. So I'm going to go ahead and give name. So the name of this one is going to be name. So it means that I'm going to collect the name of a person. Okay. And then I'm going to give a placeholder. Placeholder is what the person will see on their screen as the name of this particular attribute. So I can put maybe full name. So it means that people, when they'll be editing this screen, this form, they'll be seeing the word full name on their interfaces. So I can put here maybe BR tag to break the lines, and then I'm going to create another input that I'm going to call input, that I'm going to call country. So I'm going to give it a name and call it country. Okay, and then I'm going to give this a placeholder, and I'm going to call it country. I will call it country. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and provide the field for the age. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and set input, and then maybe the type can be maybe number, because I want to limit to numbers. And then I can give the name and call this one age. I can give it a placeholder and call this one age, like this. Okay, so after doing that particular form, or after doing a simple form like this one, then the next thing is we are going to see how it looks like on the interface. So I'm going to copy this form name and then go to our browser. Okay, I've just copied this particular file name, and then go to our browser. So in this browser, I'm going to put localhost, and then I put stroke, then the name of the file. And it's called what? Learn PHP, and then the name of the file, which is 17 underscore PHP underscore form.get. So make sure that you put a correct file name. So press enter. So when you press enter, you'll be able to see this. Okay, be able to see the full name, the country, and the age. Can you see? Full name, country, age. So what does it mean? It means that now we have a form that we can collect the information from what? From users. So let's go ahead and provide a place where now a user can do what? Can now submit the form. So here you see, I have just a form, but I have no way I can click on submit button. So let's go ahead and give this person a submit button so that they should be able to click something and then this form is submitted. Okay, so to do that, I'll just go ahead and put here another PR tag. Then let's go ahead and put a submission button. So I'll just write here the button. Okay, and then I'm going to call it submit. It's what the user should see. And always remember to put here one more extra field called type. Okay, so the type is going to be called submit. Okay, so it means that the user, this form is purposely for submitting. I mean, this button is purposely for submitting this form. So that's so beautiful. Right now we have something that we can collect the first person's name, the country, and the age. So with that said, now let's go ahead and see. But I hope the speed is not too much. I hope you're getting it. I hope you've learned how you can create this input, and I hope you've learned how you can create this submit button. So the next thing is going to be now filling this form and submitting it. So to fill this form, you're having here full name. So I can give Muhindo Mbarak, and country I can give Uganda, and age I can give 26. Okay, so I have filled these things. So the next thing is to submit. So I'll click on submit button, and then you'll see the form has been submitted, but nothing has been done. So before we proceed, I would like you to know that there is something that has changed. We might have not observed it, but there is something that has changed. So look at this URL, okay? There is the information that we have just uploaded has been appended to this URL. Can you see this question mark? Let me copy it so that you can see it here. So this is the URL. This is the main link up to here, but there is something more that was added after. They separated our URL with the question mark, and then they started adding name equals this. And then they put and sign, and then put the age, and then put another and sign, and then put the what? The country. So what does it mean? It means that this URL is encodable. We can encode it by ourselves, okay? So once we encode it by ourselves means that we can as well even use it even without a form. And that is what is meant by the get. So the get is a type of a form that can be passed, or that is passed through the through the file URL, or through the URL, or through the link, okay? Is a form that is passed through the what? Through the link. So we will see how we can encode this so that we can broadly understand the get method of a form. So after doing that, it means that this form we did not specify anything, but by default it was submitted to the same link. It was submitted to the same URL. And then after being submitted to the same URL, the data that we submitted this form, it was encoded and appended to the what? To the link of our what? Of our file, or of the file that we're executing. So meaning that by default, the action or where your form will be submitted, it will be submitted to the very URL that you are on. And also by default, the form will be submitted to the what? To the post. In the form of what? In form of the get. So if you don't specify that it should be the post, or it should be it should submit to the specific what? Specific file. So that is how we handle what? We handle forms. We submit forms, or we write HTML forms. Now, the second part of it is now how do we receive these forms so that we can deal with them in PHP or handle this data in PHP. So to do that, we have things called super global variables. We have variables called super global variables. So super global variables, they are PHP variables that we use to handle the data that is globally accessible, or that we can access globally. For example, the get, we have a super global variable called the get. Another one is called post. Another one is called cookies. Another is called session. Another one is called server, and so many. But here the most important one that we're going to look at today is called the get super global variable. The get superglobal variable is the one that is going to enable us to collect the data from the form that the user has submitted through the get method. So we're going to write a simple logic of PHP of how we can collect a form using the get superglobal variable. So I'll come on top of the file here on the very top, and then I'm going to open a PHP tag here, okay, and then here I'm going to I'm going to echo a pre-tag like this, and then after I'm going to dump everything that is in the get superglobal variable. So this is how we dump things not in PHP. So I'm going to simply say print _r and then put the $_ get in capital letters. Get in capital letters. So this is how we write superglobal variables of what? Of PHP. You write $ and you put a underscore, and then you write a superglobal variable name, and it should be in capital letters. Then here maybe I can close the pre-tag here from here, right, like this. Okay, so if I come and refresh, you can see whatever was submitted here, I am able to receive it here. So whatever is submitted here, I'm able to receive it here. So what does it mean? It means that if I remove this one, you can see this is our get variable. Can you see here? The array is empty, so it means that the data that we submit is submitted through the array, and if you don't submit anything, the superglobal variable of of get will be what? Will be empty. Can you see that? So also one more thing, just a little bit ahead, we say that this form can be encoded manually. So it means that if I add here something like and it means that you want to add another parameter. I can say maybe sex equals male. Okay, so I press enter. You can observe that still this this variable of sex has been added to what? To a get. So it means that you can encode this what? You can encode this URL to whatever things that you want, even though you don't have the form itself. Can put here and maybe DOB equals to 1994 08 something like this. Okay, like this. Okay, so if I do like this, can you see date of birth 1993, this one? So it means that this URL code can be encoded. Okay, so but if you remove everything, you see there is nothing there. Okay, so I hope you've understood how we can get the data that has been submitted from the get form of HTML and receive it in PHP. So now the question is, another question is now, how do we manipulate the data now? Okay, how do you manipulate the data? Now the data has been submitted. Now how are you going to handle it? So to handle it, as we saw, it was just nothing but a what? But an array. But so it means that we can handle it in form of a what? In form of an array. So before we so let me just go ahead and submit. Okay, like this. Okay, so it means that we can collect this name, but like this, by saying name equals to get, and then we pass name like this in square brackets. So what does it mean? It means that the names that we were providing here in our inputs, in our HTML inputs, these names, okay, they are the ones that we receive from the other side in PHP. Otherwise, I say that if you don't specify these names in a certain input, then it means that that input will be ignored because it will be meaningless. There is no way we can receive it on the server side. So always make sure that you specify the what? The name. So here I have the name. So now I can go ahead and get the country. Okay. Then I can go ahead and get maybe the age. Was it age here like this? Okay. So like this one, I can be able to access these variables in that way. So let's go ahead and refresh. So I'm going to remove everything so that we should be like we are new on this form. Okay. So can you see there's an error? There's an error. What's the error talking about? It's saying that undefined array key name at this particular line, and also undefined array key name at this particular line, like that. So what does it mean? It means that we have come to this form for the very first time. As you know here, as you see, I removed everything for the very first time, and the name is not set inside the get, and the country is not set inside the get and the age. So what does it mean? It will end up giving you warning or crashing. So what does it mean? It means that there should be a way of how we should check if there is data that is being submitted before we start doing what? Before we start handling that data. And how can we do that to get rid of such kind of errors? So how can we do that? Let me remove this one. We can do that by checking first if there is a name that is coming, and then we go ahead and use the name. So how will I do that? I'll just simply say if. So in PHP, there's an inbuilt function is called isSet. IsSet will check something if it is set or not, and it will not cause an error. So I put here if isSet, and then open bracket, I put the $sign underscore get, and then I specify the name. So I'm going to check if the name of get is set. Once it is set, then I'm going to go ahead and execute this particular bracket here. So I can cut this one and I put it here. So it means that I have collected, I will only collect the name, the country, the age, only when this name is set. So if I come and refresh, like this, submit, can you see? So it means that there's no error. There's no error, right? So let's go ahead and now see how we can manipulate this data, okay? So to do that, I can say echo, and then I put the name, or I can put the like this. I can say your name is, and then I pass the name, and then put comma, you are, then I put the age, years old, and you come from, and then I put the country. So by doing like this, it means that we'll have got the ability for us to do what? To collect the data from the user and then manipulate it, okay? Or use it in our PHP. Can you see that? I'm just checking if the name is set, and then after I collect the name, I collect the country, I collect the age, and then I display the name, the age, and the country in the form of a what? In form of a sentence. So I'll come and refresh. Can you see? Your name is the name, you are the age, and then you come from the country. So you see, that is really beautiful. It means that we can now collect the information from the user and manipulate it. So I'll come and refresh, and then come here and give your name, your country, and maybe let me say Bwambale Muhidin. Your country maybe Kenya, and the age maybe 45. And then I submit. Can you see? Your name is, your age, you are this, and then you're coming from this. You come from this. So alternatively, I can manipulate this form from the URL. I can put here maybe Kule Swale, something like this. Like this. Can you see? I'm manipulating this data from the what? From the get. So get has some advantages. Get method, it has some advantages. At the same time, it has some disadvantages. So when you proceed, you'll see when we need get and when we need what? When we need post. But at this point, I hope you now have the idea of what is meant by get and how to handle the get form. So this is the form. and this is the input, and then this is the submission button, and then this is checking if something is set before we start using. And then here we are getting the name, here we're getting the country, and here we're getting the age. And then here we display. So don't just sit and watch. Just watch as you do what? As you practice. Let us meet in the next video where we are going to look at the post superglobal variable, or at the post method. But before we go to that video, in fact, if you want to specify a method that you want to use, you specify it from here. For example, if you want to specify, to be specific that this form is for get, we just come here in the form tag and then write here method, attribute method, and then you specify the form by writing something like get. Okay, then here HTML will know specifically that this form is for get. So you have an idea of how we may also need to do what, to specify a form for the what, for the post. So let us meet in the next video where we are going to look at the post method of a form. Okay, I hope you won't miss. Remember to subscribe, by the way. I always forget to tell you this. Subscribe this YouTube channel, because I have a lot of things, good things that I'm preparing to share through this YouTube channel. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.